Hi folks, Steven here. So this is going to be a recap stream. We're going to be talking about my time this weekend at Anime Milwaukee 2023. So this is, I guess, the second year back. There was one in 2020, and then everything shut down for a while, and then they came back in last year, 2022, and they're back again this year. So as you'd expect, I have a presentation, so let me just go ahead and boot that up. If any of you have any questions, or if any of you actually attended, please do give us a comment. We always appreciate that. Alright, so here you see some stuff here. First of all, I do want to mention I am, as a press person, I was provided a press pass for this event, so full disclosure there. The convention doesn't pre-screen the stuff I put up here, but all the same, I would have otherwise had to have bought a pass myself for the event, so I wanted to make sure I said that. So, as far as requirements for this year, they were requiring masks to be worn, and compliance was pretty good. They were a little loose in certain areas. I'll explain that there with some of the pictures in here. They did not require me to show proof of vaccination. They didn't require me to have a test of any sort. To show that I had, negative tests or anything like that, like they did last year, but they still required that. I'm not sure if that was an insurance thing, something they decided on their own, or some combination thereof. But as you can see from this sign here, yep, unless you're eating something, as long as you're in the convention center or the Hilton across the street, you pretty much need to be wearing a mask unless you're, in a room by yourself, in your hotel room. Alright, so this was once again at the Wisconsin Center. So this is a nice little nighttime picture you can see of the, I guess it's the, gosh, I don't know, it's either the east or the south facade. I think it's the south facade of the building, if I remember correctly, the way this is laid out. You can sort of see in there. We had a fair bit of snow on the ground, although, well, the weather was... It was varied this weekend. Let's sort of go there. Obviously not within the convention's control, but we'll talk a little bit about it. In any case, Thursday is kind of the usual. I always try to get there on Thursday night so that I'm ready to go Friday morning for whatever comes there. So I drove to Milwaukee, picked up my press pass, which you can see in the middle there, and I ordered dinner from Greek Gyros. So you can see there I have a shake. Mostly had I think that's a banana shake, and then I have some honey mustard boneless barbecue wings over there on the right. So pretty good stuff, actually, food-wise. Okay, so Friday, first actual day of the convention. So I did have one press session. Press sessions were a little different this time. Usually pretty much every year, not everyone has a press session, but they didn't have nearly as many as they did last year, and they didn't start as early. So last year, there were some that started like 9 or 10 in the morning, if I remember correctly, and it took, I think some of those early morning ones also were not, maybe super well attended or were inconvenient for folks and stuff. But I did on Friday do a press session with Martha Harms. This was sort of a co-op session. There were a couple outlets there. I think actually one of the local radio stations was there as well. Which is funny because their headquarters were just like a block away, so in downtown Milwaukee. But this is Martha Harms, who played Officer Jenny for about the back half of one of the seasons in Sun and Moon. She also had a role in the Power of Us movie that released in 2018. So astute viewers/listeners will know I actually did interview her last year. So since there wasn't a ton of new stuff, I don't think she's done any new Pokemon roles since. What I'm going to actually do is take some excerpts from this interview and probably put them up as YouTube shorts is sort of my plan there, structurally speaking. But good to see her. She's also a Wisconsin native, so that's always good. Can see why she would want to come to this particular convention, so... Alright, so later in the day, I had a cosplay meetup. There was a general, basically, Nintendo session. I think it was actually the same time as the one last year, 7 p.m. on Friday. Here you can see a bunch of the Pokemon people. That's some pretty creative stuff there, like a Team Go Rocket, actually, member taking control of the Pokestop. You can see the little spinner back there if you take a quick look at the picture. Also, the usual ball guy, had a bunch of other stuff, including a few new characters. So let's see, this is Bridget, who I will hopefully be doing a written interview with soon. I have to send her a list of questions and stuff like that, but that should be coming within the next few days. But she did Ayano, one of the new gym leaders from Scarlet and Violet. Definitely one of the more ornate ones. I have some interesting stuff. You can see on the right-hand side there's a close-up of her hair, and also the Magnemite. I don't think they're real Magnemite, like in the game either, obviously, but I think they're just part of her hat or headgear or whatever you want to call it there. But very impressed by that, and I have more to. Hopefully, she'll have more to say about that in the interview. Like I said, we're going to be conducting a written interview for this one. All right, dinner. This one I wasn't quite as impressed with. This is called The Drive-Thru. You may notice there I have actually a shake. I also have, let's see, iced tea and a milk on there. And some, actually, if you look in that bag there, that's some mini donuts. I was trying to actually order food starting on Friday for the next morning, so I didn't have to figure out how to get breakfast or grab something, since I think the selection at the Convention Center was that good in terms of breakfast. In any case, on the right there, you can see that there's a Sloppy Joe. To be honest, I was not super impressed with this meal here. Sloppy Joe, the food tasted fine for the most part, but the presentation, I don't know. I'm not sure what I was expecting out of Sloppy Joe. By the way, for those of you, I don't know if Sloppy Joes are that well known outside of the United States, but basically they are, you have ground beef that is very loose, much more loose than, say, like an actual hamburger, and then usually some sort of onion and tomato-based sauce on there. Along with some other spices and stuff like that. So that's what a Sloppy Joe is. So, not a bad meal, but I think I maybe expected a bit more of it. Not sure. All right, let's go on Saturday, which is the main day of the convention. First of all, there was a Pokemon TCG League event on Saturday and Sunday in the gaming space. I ended up not doing much with it because actually it was more of a tournament, and I don't have a tournament legal deck, at least in Standard, at the moment. And they had looks like about 8 people showed up. It was kind of interesting. I was looking on their monitors. I guess they have some sort of thing where they have a timer, but it's still using the old Adobe Flash player, so they have some sort of like weird sandbox thing to make that. But yep, definitely had some Pokemon TCG stuff, but I didn't have a ton of time. Also, this overlap with a couple other things I want to take a look at. All right, shopping. So there's a big exhibit/vendor hall there, and there was a lot of stuff I could have bought. I didn't actually buy one of these that you're seeing right now, but these are absolutely beautiful. They're not snow globes. I think they're like diorama is probably the closest term there. They're done by this group, Penguina's Presents, which you see, who I am also trying to do either a phone or written interview with. I'm going to get in touch with them in the next few days. We did exchange information there. But although I didn't pick up one of these, I have no doubt they had no trouble selling most, if not all, of the ones they brought in there. These beautiful things with, like I said, these little figurines of Pokemon in there. This one is a Charmander with a little candy there. I would not try eating that. At least I think it looks kind of like a gumdrop type candy. But they have these wonderful environments, and I got to really practice my depth of field and macro photography skills on these. But yeah, really nice stuff, and they got a lot of attention there. So this is one of several dozen they had on display there that I took copious pictures of, assuming they wouldn't be there by the end of the weekend, because I think these sold very well. Now, what did I actually buy for myself? Well, I did look at some video game stuff. I need to make a list of games I'm looking for, I think, at some point. Some did appreciate that there were a decent number of video game sales. Even though this is technically an anime convention, there's a pretty good overlap. But what I ended up buying? I ended up buying a plush, which you can see right here. I bought this Shinx. There was a big... one vendor had a big selection of Pokemon plushes, arranged by color, and I had to remind myself, oh yeah, Shinx is blue, not yellow. Unless, of course, it's the shiny one, but this is just a regular Shinx. This is, I think, a Band Presto one, so I think this is one that's actually from Japan. I have some... ideas for this one. I'm not going to, touch the surface too much, but I'm going to, I think, give it an index card and some clothing, and those of you who know my taste in music might know where that would go. But that I did pick up for myself. I try not to be honest, at these conventions, buy too much stuff just because I don't have a ton of space on me in my, with all my equipment and stuff. And to stuff that all in my luggage is kind of a pain sometimes. But they did have plenty of stuff there. So just what you would expect at an anime convention for the, like I said, the vendor area. All right. The thing that sort of covered a big chunk of the day was the Smash Ultimate Tournament. Now on the left there you can see Conkers, who is someone I interviewed a number of years ago. I don't remember if it was before or after. Well, I don't think it was last year. I have to check. But I've interviewed him before, so he actually ended up, Conkers on the left, ended up winning the tournament. In the finals, I believe he played as Bowser against Christopher on the right, who is, I will be doing a written interview with. We have to exchange some information and stuff. But he played Ridley in the finals. But, yeah, so I just try to avoid interviewing the same people over and over again, especially for stuff like this. So, looking forward to that. Overall, I did watch a fair bit of the tournament, especially since it kind of ran a bit longer than they had hoped, and enjoyed it. There were a couple people, actually, there were some fairly skilled Jigglypuff players. I did not get a chance to ask them, though, about what they think about Screamtail possibly being in the next Smash Brothers. Alright, so dinner. Dinner on Saturday, I think I like this better. It might look kind of similar, but it did come from a different place called Wisco Burger. And you can see on the left, I got some nice, I believe that's fried cod, French fries, a little bit of bread. Let's see. Over on the right, you can see I got more milk and another milkshake. Let's see, I also got some tartar sauce and some coleslaw, which is in that center white tub thing there. So this is what I liked a bit more. I think I also got some mini donuts from here, which were kind of pretty much the same as the other place. So that is an interesting thing, I suppose. All right, Sunday. Now, last year on Sunday, I was so tired, I went straight home. I had managed things, I think, a little better. Maybe I went to bed actually kind of early on Saturday night. But I had some more press sessions to go to. On the left, you can see Susie Young, who was Jupiter in Pokemon Evolutions, one of the Team Galactic members in that mini-series. And then on the right, you can see Leah Clark, who had a couple roles back in 5th generation. One of those is actually fairly important. It's Carlita, the younger sister of the character in the Victini movies, plural. So those are kind of two somewhat different experiences each of them had in there, but I did get a chance to talk to both of them. Those will be relatively short interviews, but yeah, so. Oh yeah! Yesterday, Sunday, was Go Community Day for Noibat and Noivern. So, haven't had a chance to... This is, of course, it's the first one on a Sunday for a while, so it didn't conflict with my league, which I had a substitute for this weekend, of course. But it did come on the same weekend as the convention, which I guess isn't all bad, but this is a two-stage Community Day. Which usually when they do that, they pick a Pokemon that has a very expensive evolution, and Noibat is not an exception. So in the tradition of Magikarp and, let's see, and Altaria, let's see, and so on and so forth, Noibat requires like 400 candies to evolve. You can see a shiny one on the left, and then on the right you can see that... See, Noivern was in fact a new Pokemon for me, and I would have expected Boomburst to be something it normally learns in Pokemon Go, but I guess not. And then in the middle we have a nice little note from Professor Willow. Aggressive and will ruthlessly torment enemies that are helpless in the dark. Yikes! So, yeah, kind of interesting. The whole thing kind of centers around fruit. So, to be honest, I kind of like this one. I also managed to complete a bunch of other tasks while I was there and got a fair amount of experience over the weekend, as I kind of expected. So, okay. So, I managed to fill in another slot in the Pokédex as well. Alright, I did go to a number of panels over the weekend. I'm not sure if this is more or less than usual. Some of these I had to either got too late... or had to leave early because of other things. Let's see, there was Q and Play, which was a couple of guests, a couple of the male guests on there. They were ones, actually, two of them, I think Ray Chase, and then, oh gosh, I forget the other person's name, but they were in various Pokemon things. One of them was in Pokemon Masters. The other one was the voice of Professor Willow in a couple stories. Unfortunately, neither of them did a press session. But I did decide to go to their thing and just check that out for a little bit. There's an improv panel where they actually did a bunch of, if you've seen the TV show Whose Line Is It Anyway, they did a bunch of games from there. That one, I think, to be honest, dragged on a fair bit, especially since all of the contestants pretty much, besides the host, were volunteers from the audience. So maybe not terrible. Some people clearly enjoyed it, but I think they gave it more time than, I don't know. Let's see. Music production and video games and anime. So I couldn't stay for all of this because I had to get back to the Smash tournament, but this was kind of a neat one with someone who had worked on a lot of video game stuff, actually. He had worked at Harmonix for a while. That was actually pretty neat. Then after the Smash tournament, I was late, a little bit late in getting to Bang Zoom Audio Engineering Panel. So this is from an audio production company called Bang Zoom. They've worked on all sorts of stuff from anime to even primetime shows like NCIS New Orleans apparently is one of their clients, or at least was. So that was kind of nice. Obviously, there was more geared to people trying to get into voice acting and stuff. And I should mention there was this really brave volunteer from the audience who actually got up in front of there, and they showed how dubbing works, basically speaking, and using a scene from, I believe, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And props to that guy for doing that there. You're a brave man. And then finally, I think on Sunday, I got to this was sort of during the community day, so I was kind of out in the lobby because the place was just jam-packed. This was the Pokemon Game Show. Now, originally I thought this was something, and not to insult the people who ran this, I had this confused with a Grego, who is a game show person who goes to a lot of conventions. This is something a bit different. I think they ran the drawing thing that I saw last year. I think this was the same group of people, or at least some of them. So, to be fair, I did not, since I was outside the room and trying to complete the community day, I didn't get as good a look at that one as maybe I would have liked. Overall, decent panels, but yeah. Okay, overall thoughts. I think this was a little less special. Obviously, I wasn't coming back from, almost 2 years of not going to events, so this really couldn't have been as special. Mask compliance was still pretty good. They did give, you may have noticed that Martha did not have a mask in her picture. They did give, during the press sessions, the guests the option to either wear a mask or not, but pretty much everywhere I went I had a mask on unless I was eating, but still very compliant, so hopefully not too much spread. And gear is heavy. I told you last year I was getting pretty tired, and I still got pretty tired this year, but gear is actually pretty heavy when you have that, and I need to find a way either to get less stuff, I'm not sure what I'm going to do there, and figure things out. But, yeah, so a lot of thoughts there. Alright, let me give some updates on the Pokecasters Network family of shows. First off, Poke Science. They did just put out a very short episode today talking about some questions or some feedback that they want. But their most recent real episode is Poke Science Q&A Plantastic Curiosities, so I assume they're about grass Pokemon. Critical Hitmonlee, episode 77, Entering the Dome. Of course, that's a tabletop RPG podcast. Welcome to World of Pokemon has done their episode now on Magmar 126, so we're actually kind of getting towards the end of the original 151. Let's see, Not a Scratch, Arc 5, episode 19, Adam takes over, plus guest, but not a real one. So, not quite sure exactly what's going on there. So, but that's another, I believe, tabletop RPG podcast. So, some interesting choices there. As far as my podcast, now last month I did get out the My Pokemon Ranch / Pokemon Music Trivia episode, which was fun. The next episode in our feed, once I get a chance to work on that with all this anime Milwaukee stuff also in the mix, should be, oh gosh, I think it's the second Ranger game is the next one up there. So that's where we're going with that. But yeah, so that kind of covers Anime Milwaukee as well as some other goings on. But I did enjoy my time there, legitimately. If you went there or have any sort of questions, please do give us a comment and let us know, and I'll try and answer them. Otherwise, you can expect some stuff from there, both in video form here on the channel and also on the blog, pokepress.blogspot.com. Until then, all right, folks, thanks.